Hello, today we're going to journey back in time to 800 to 400 before the Common Era, when the Upanishads emerged as a significant addition to the Vedas, known as Vedanta. So the word Vedanta means the end of the Vedas, and the Upanishads are part of the Vedas, but they come in the end and they're quite different in the way that they approach the practice, focusing on philosophical and metaphysical teachings rather than the rituals that we saw in the Vedas. Technically, they're part of the Vedas, but they're often studied and considered as separate texts because they're quite distinct in their nature compared to earlier Vedic texts, which we looked at in previous videos. It's said that there's 108 Upanishads, 108 being a very auspicious number in yoga, as you probably know. However, some scholars will say there's probably up to 200. It's debated, like a lot of things in yoga philosophy. Each Upanishad carries its own unique lesson or tone or insight into the nature of reality and the self. Unlike the Vedas, the Upanishads focus more on the metaphysical inquiries rather than ritualistic practices. So Vedanta, the philosophical foundation of the Upanishads, delves deep into the nature of ultimate reality, known as Brahman, and the individual self, known as Atman. And the other thing about the Upanishads, which is important to understand, is that they're considered to be Shruti, meaning it's not humans that made this up. They are revelations from spirit that came through enlightened sages through direct communion with the divine. And the term Upanishad translates as sitting down near. And it reflects this traditional method of studying yoga philosophy. You sit at the foot of the master, the guru, the teacher, and you engage in dialogue, in discussion to receive the instruction. So they're written in a more accessible form of Sanskrit, making the spiritual teaching relatable to a broader audience. So this is really important. Renowned for their poetic and metaphysical expressions, these scriptures use symbolism to convey profound spiritual insights. At the heart of the Upanishads lies three fundamental concepts: Brahman, Atman, which we looked at briefly, and Maya. Brahman is often described as the unchanging, the infinite, the formless source of all existence, the divine consciousness that pervades and underlies the entire universe. So recognizing Brahman involves acknowledging this all-encompassing oneness that transcends the material world. And then we have Atman. So Atman is the individual soul. So we all have an Atman. However, in the Upanishads, the emphasis is saying that the Atman and Brahman are one, eternal, divine. Realizing the unity of Atman and Brahman is the central teaching of the Upanishads. In other words, it's non-dual point of view, or Advaita. And then thirdly, we have Maya, which is illusion, or the illusionary nature of the material world. It obscures the reality of Brahman and Atman being one. So this feeling of fragmentation or separation comes from Maya. The teachings of the Upanishads guide us to transcend this deceptive veil of Maya. It encourages us to identify the unity of Atman and Brahman. And that is how we obtain moksha, or liberation from the cycles of birth and death. These concepts serve to establish a profound connection with the divine essence within ourselves and the universe. If you'd like to learn more about the Upanishads, grab my book, Philosophy on the Mat. Chapter 4 is dedicated to the Upanishads, and we will give you a really good grounding in these teachings.